Hello, hello, and welcome to PD in your PJs. I'm so excited to be here with you. I'm Julie. I'm really excited to share all these time-saving trips with you, and I'm honored that in your busy back-to-school time of year that you took a little time out to spend some time with me talking about Seesaw. Like I said, my name's Julie. I came from the high school ELA classroom where I was a teacher for 18 years. Now I'm on the teacher community team at Seesaw. I would love it if you could find me on Twitter and give me a follow. I'm at EdTech Julie J, and that's a great place to connect with me when the webinar is done. I'm happy to share other tips and tricks and talk with you about your own situation. And of course, you can connect with our whole team on Twitter at Seesaw. Now, I want to tell you that this webinar is really about a lot of tips and tricks that you may not know that are designed to save you time as you get started with Seesaw in this new school year. Hopefully, you've already joined us for brand new to Seesaw, parts 1 and 2, if you indeed are brand new to Seesaw. So I just wanted to make sure I gave you a link to find that just in case you need that kind of information and you haven't been able to join us. You can join us for any webinar anytime, and we make lots of our recordings available for you on YouTube. You're going to get these slides coming to you in an email shortly after we conclude tonight. So just open these slides and click on that link if you need to register for one of the brand new to Seesaw webinars. So this is your plan for your back to school time. This is going to get you everything you need to get up and running for a new year with Seesaw. So this is our plan for tonight, and these are the steps you're going to take to get ready to rock back to school. First, we're going to talk about archiving last year's class if you used Seesaw last year. We'll talk about connecting families, which leads right into talking about any sort of meet the teacher or open house or back to school night you might be having. I'll give you some ideas for that. Then we'll talk about announcements and messages and how that's going to really help you with your communication this year. And then I'll give you some ideas for how you can get started with students in your classroom using Seesaw. You can also see, if you're watching this recording later and you're not watching me live, you can see how you can access these slides. I have that tiny link there in the bottom left. You can see it on the screen right now. So that's how you could access these slides if you later are watching this recording, like on YouTube. And of course, if you're joining me live tonight, the slides and the recording are coming your way in an email. Now, I wanted to tell you that we're not going to spend time tonight talking about creating your account or creating your class. We've covered that in some of those other brand new webinars. But of course, I wanted you to have the resources you would need in case you didn't know how to do that. So I've embedded some videos here for you, and these are actually great to share with friends, other teachers in your school who might be new to Seesaw. You can share these slides and give them these videos as well. So this is a good, helpful tutorial about how to create a QR code sign-in class. Leave that there for you. And then this video talks about, especially if you're teaching older students, how you can create an email or Google sign-in class and the steps that students take to join that class. So those are really helpful tutorial videos that are sitting there for you. We, of course, are not going to watch them in real time tonight in our webinar, but take a peek at them later if that's information that you need. So I'm going to assume at this part of our training that you have created a class or have an account. And if you don't, then you'll need to watch some of this to get started. I'm even pretending maybe that a lot of you actually did use Seesaw last year, and I want to make sure you have the steps you need to archive last year's class. Now, if you've never used Seesaw before and you don't have a class from last year, then just wait patiently while I go through this information because it really won't apply to you. I will let the teachers who taught last year kind of listen into this, give you everything you need. And then, of course, if you're new to Seesaw, these are the same steps you could follow at the end of this year, too. So just a quick reminder, you can archive your free Seesaw class from the wrench or the spanner that appears in the upper right corner of your Seesaw class. You click that wrench anytime you're adjusting your class settings, and then you're just going to scroll all the way down to find that button that says Archive Class. Your process will be a little bit different if you are a Seesaw for Schools school. So this information mostly applies to you if you used free Seesaw last year and you're going to want to archive your class. You're going to hear me using the word archive a lot. We don't really delete classes. We want to archive them. And that just means that it's not going to show up as an active class in our list of classes under our profile icon. So it's not going to show up on your list of classes, but it is going to be associated with your teacher account for 1 year. you can always click the button to restore that class at any time. It's not going to go away. You'll have access to it if needed and can restore it. Seesaw is going to kind of hold on to that for about a year. And then because Seesaw cares about the privacy of your students and data, Seesaw could maybe contact you at some point in the future and ask you if you still want to keep that class. Seesaw would never delete anything or remove it without asking you first. So if you archive it, it's there safely until maybe you would be contacted at some point in the future. The nice thing about this too is that parents and connected family members can also still access their students' data from an archived class for 60 days. So if you have never pushed the archive button and you're going to do it tonight, parents will get a little notification or a reminder that they have 60 days to download their students' items. If your school is a Seesaw for Schools school, parents can access that year over year. So that's pretty cool too. I'm just going to give you a couple of mistakes to avoid. These are things we just try to remind you about. Remember, like I said, we don't want to delete. We're thinking about archiving here. Don't delete students from your class. What that ends up doing is making it so that students and their families and even other teachers can't access what they've created. So don't delete or remove students, and don't go in your settings to turn off the parent or family access, because then that will not let them download the content even in that 60-day window. And remember, just in general, don't delete, just archive. So it's waiting there for you, but not in your list of active classes. Okay, so now that that's done, let's talk about going forward. This is step 2 on your plan. We really want to think about making sure we have everything ready to go to connect families. Okay, so even before you see your students, there are a few things you can do to set things up so that families can connect to your class. And I can demo this for you in real time as well, but let me just show you a couple of screenshots and then I can show it to you in a demo class. Remember, this is kind of what your Seesaw class looks like. This is your students' journal. Their creations are showing up here. Here are your students' names. And you're going to want to tap that invite families button to start connecting with your students' families. You're going to get a pop-up that looks like this. You need to say that yes, you're wanting to turn on family access. You're going to want to click that blue button. Just a friendly reminder, because I know this is the time of year that this question comes up a lot. Remember, family members are only going to see their own students' work. They're not looking at other students' work or creations. Now, sometimes if a teacher posts something like a photo and they tag it to all students or everyone, then everyone would get it. But as far as the things that your student is creating, only you see it as the parent. Other parents don't see it. So that's a helpful reminder, especially for anyone who's new to Seesaw and might be kind of nervous about that. So just reassure them, parents and family members only see items that their child is tagged in. And then you have this option to print some paper invites. And this is going to be something that's really helpful for you to do ahead of time if you're having one of those back to school night or open house types of events. So a lot of teachers of younger students are going to click print paper invites to be ready to hand those out at one of those events, or even if you have to do it in the first few weeks of school and send it home in a folder or backpack, that's usually a good strategy. I taught older students, so I was using the sample email all the time and had a lot more success with that. If you have any experience teaching big kids, you know big kids don't make it home with paper very often. So I was doing the email and had a lot of success with that. So you have those two options, but I would imagine most of you are going to be using the paper invite. And remember, I'll demo that for you in just a minute. I do want to remind you that as you're thinking about clicking that button to print the paper invitations, you have some other languages here you can choose from. We just encourage you to invite families in the language that they speak. That's just going to help even more families connect to your classroom. Quick reminder too, and this is sometimes confusing, so I want to make sure I really carefully explain it. You know, you as a teacher and even your students are using the app that looks like this design here, but it says the word class. Parents and family members need to use the one that says family. Okay, so you're going to want to make sure that if you're seeing these parents in person, that you remind them they need the family app, and they can get that on like an iOS device in the App Store or in the Google Play Store if they're on an Android device, but they need the family app to connect. And of course, anyone can sign in on a computer at app.seesaw.me. But most parents are wanting to use their phone to connect. So that's when you really just need to remind them that they need that family app. And that's what they'll use to connect when you hand out that paper invitation. I included a screenshot that I took on my own phone the other day. You can see it there at the left of your screen. I was just trying to demonstrate the point that when you type Seesaw in the App Store, you see the class app and that class icon, and you see the family app. Okay, so if you're a teacher or student, you're using the class app. If you're a connected family member, you're using that family app. So you can see it's two different apps. Also, if you think it would be helpful for you at some point, I included a video here too that's a tour of the family app. So if you want to share that with family members or pass that on to other people to watch, that just shows a family member what it would look like to be in the family app. So that could be helpful for you as well. And remember, once you pass out one of those paper invitations, families can connect immediately. They do need to scan that QR code with the Seesaw family app, or they can connect from a computer. If they do that, they'll have to pick their child's name off a list. Okay, I'm going to demo that for you live. Let me pop into a demo class here. You know from previous webinars probably that we use a lot of this type of class to demonstrate for workshops and trainings. So these are pretend students in a pretend class where we have some samples of student work here for you to see. So I'm in my journal view. Remember, I showed you this in screenshots and now I'll show it to you live. Remember, my first stop is going to be that plus or add families button here at the bottom. So I'm just in my regular journal, but I'm going down here to this families button. And then I have those options that I showed you on the slides. I can do the email or I can print my paper invitation, and I have some options for different languages. I'm on a computer now demonstrating for you, so I could be printing right here from my computer. It's going to open the print screen. So I have this option now to print. I get some nice instructions here, which Seesaw provides for me. So it's explaining a little bit more about these invitations. And then I also, and this won't probably apply to you right now because you're just getting started for your new school year, but at some points in the year, this is really helpful. And I benefited from this a lot as a classroom teacher. It will tell you who is currently connected as a parent. So that's really helpful information. For you right now, it's probably nobody, but later in the year, it's really helpful to know who's connected. And now I have my individual invitations, and there is a unique invitation and a unique code for every student. You can see here the name of the class. Okay, so the demo class that I'm in right now is called Mrs. V's 8th grade, and I'm the teacher, Mrs. Jacobs. And now I'm starting to see my students' names. Okay, so as I scroll down, if I print this whole file, I'm getting everybody's unique invitation. Okay, and so when I hand this to a parent, it's going to remind them that they can connect with that family app on a smartphone, or they can connect from a computer. And the tip I would give you is just make sure you get the right invitation with the right kid or family so you don't accidentally hand the wrong one to the wrong kid. Okay, I'm going to go back into my slides, and this is going to carry over to our next topic, which is getting this invitation out to families at like a back to school event, Meet the Teacher Night. So I've had my invitations printed, and we just walked through how to do that. I'm reminding you here to check carefully at the name here at the top. Make sure you're sending the correct one home. Something that's really cool, and this came up in a question today that someone had, how many family members can connect to a student's journal, and it can be up to 10, so that's pretty nice. And you can use this same invitation over and over. You don't have to generate a different invitation or a different code. You can take home this one paper and multiple people can connect, which is really nice. So if you are having an event where family members come into your classroom, think about having these invites ready to hand out, or of course you can always send them home later, but this is the really great time of year to get that information out to families. We also have a website for you. I don't know how many people have actually seen this because I feel like anytime I present it in a webinar, people act like it's new to them. So I just want to remind you, we have a website that's already prepared that is kind of designed for you to project onto a screen or show or have open on a computer at a back to school night. I'm going to pop out of my slides one more time too so I can open that. I think I have a link somewhere. Okay, so this is what this website looks like, and it's just designed for any time you're meeting with families at an event or in your classroom, and it's something you could have open on multiple student devices. Like if you have like a row of computers, you could have it open on all of those, or you could project it on a screen. It's just designed to kind of explain Seesaw to families. There's a little video there. And then it kind of goes through all of that information about the family app and all the information that families would need to sign up, kind of the stuff we've been talking about in the last few minutes. And then I think this is super, super helpful because this comes up a lot too. How would a family then add another child? If they connected in your classroom, how could they connect their other child who might be having a different teacher using Seesaw? So that's really helpful. I just wanted to make sure you knew that that was a resource for you that you could use. And you saw me click on that image to open the link. And remember, when you get these slides later, you can just go back through and take a closer look at all of those resources. We also have this that you might have seen on Twitter because we share it quite a lot this time of year. It's a really helpful resource for you. It's a way to take a note or letter that you might be sending home, maybe even before you even meet your students, and you can sort of make it come alive by creating a little video in Seesaw and then giving a QR code to the video on the letter. So you can click these links here to take you to a set of step-by-step instructions. They're going to look something like this. Your note, when it's done, will look like this. But if you click on one of those links or this link here, you're going to actually get to a file that's going to give you some really step-by-step helpful info, including a reminder about how to create a QR code in Seesaw. And then there's even a tutorial video here. So if you're looking at this on your screen right now thinking, I don't know how I would do that, just open this file, and you're going to see all of these instructions, including a step-by-step video. So you'll have all the info you need to create one of these. You'll put your own name and information here. And if you actually send this home in the mail, like before you even meet your students, families can scan this and hear you talking or hear your voice or see your welcome video. So that's pretty cool. It's a neat way to make an interactive or digital meet the teacher letter. Okay, I also want to talk about announcements and messages in Seesaw because that's something you're really going to want to use for communication with your connected families this year. This is a really great time for me to also give you a friendly reminder that you want to make sure if you have had the Seesaw app on your device and haven't updated it in the last few months, this is a really good time to do that. You want to make sure you're using the most current version of Seesaw. If you're using it on a tablet, or a mobile device, you want Seesaw 6.0 or higher. We released a lot of really awesome updates in June, for example, and so some of these features I'm showing, if you're using the old version of Seesaw that hasn't been updated, you might not see them. So quick reminder, don't forget to update if you haven't already. And then let's talk about announcements and messages. Like I've done a few other times tonight, I have put a video here for you that we're not going to watch in real time, but you can use as a resource later. Here's a really helpful tutorial about how to use announcements and messages in Seesaw. I'll demo that live here in just a minute. And then here's actually some info for families if they're wanting to know how to use messages or announcements in Seesaw. Just wanted to make sure those were there for you. And we'll demo this here in just a second. But basically what I wanted to remind you is that you can actually add anything that you can do in Seesaw in an announcement. So if you want to send a video, a photo, a PDF, a link, like something that's pictured here as a video, you can send that home to families as an announcement, which is really nice. I'll show you how to do that in just a second. The thing I want to tell you that's so exciting though and helpful is that when you're corresponding with a connected family member in the form of an announcement, it's not staying in the student's journal. So it makes the things that appear in the journal or the portfolio or the feed, it makes that all student creations. The inbox tab is where things can stay that are like permission slips or newsletters, things that don't have to stay as a permanent part of the portfolio. And that's actually really helpful. Let me demo that for you here in my sample class here. We've talked about connecting families. Okay, so you can see here, I'm in the journal view or the journal tab, scrolling through student posts, right? We've talked about activities in some other webinars, and we'll maybe look at that a little bit later. But I want to talk about the inbox tab now. I like to think about it in my brain as that the journal is for students and the inbox is kind of for grown-ups, because that's where I'm going to do my communicating or my corresponding with connected family members. And I'm doing that through the inbox. So if you look at this green add button, and we use this for a lot of things, like to make a post to a student journal or to browse the activity library, I can go right here to also send an announcement. So an announcement's going to go to a large group of people, whoever I choose here, either all of the students in this class, all of the connected family members, or both the students and the connected family members. So I can choose, in this case, for this demo, I have picked family members. So this is an announcement that's going to go to everyone that is connected. Let's see how well I can type live tonight. I can send a message. I can even add an attachment. So with any of these Seesaw tools, I could do a drawing, I could type a note. I think what is helpful for me to demonstrate right now is adding a file, because I think you probably would add a photo or a PDF of like a note or a newsletter or a permission slip. So I'm on a computer demonstrating this right now. So you can see I dragged that file up here. I've attached this image to my announcement, and I have chosen to send it to all connected family members. And it's actually working. It's just probably just showing that my internet connection is slow, but it's going to send the little word that I typed along with this image. And then that's going to go to every connected family member as an announcement. Okay, so you can see the image, you can see the word I typed, and then I can say send now. And it's not showing up in the journal. Okay, so this is the journal view, and these are my students' posts. It's the same ones that you've seen all night tonight as I've been scrolling, and you don't see that note or that message that I just sent. So I can find that in the inbox. It's there. It's a family announcement. So it's there in my inbox. I can see the announcements I've sent to students. I can see the announcements I've sent to families, but the point I'm trying to make is they're not in the student's journal. They're staying in the inbox where your communication and your correspondence can stay. So another nice thing I can do here, right here, what you're seeing is actually the names of the adults, the connected family members. And I could actually message one of those people individually too. You can see right here is where I have that little message box. And so I could type something just to this one parent. So it's not going to everyone. I've highlighted this person's name and I can send them the message. Okay, so that's going just to this one connected family member. So I can still do my announcements to large groups, or I can go here and just click on a connected family member's name and message them individually. So that's a pretty good communication tool for you as you're kicking off back to school, and you can actually send home something once your family members connect to greet all of those family members. Okay, so when you think about starting Seesaw with students, we have a couple of really awesome things waiting for you for back to school. One, we have our newly expanded activity library, and it's full of really great ideas and activities to help your students get started with Seesaw. You might actually see a screen that looks like this when you first create your class, and it's going to kind of show you some example activities that are suitable for students of your grade level, and then it'll give you a little reminder to browse the activity library. You do that right from that green add button that I've been using a couple of times tonight. And then you actually can find lots of collections that are really specific to getting started with Seesaw. They're right at the top of the screen when you get into the library. And so Seesaw will automatically open it to the grade level that you've set your class, but you can filter by different grades or different subjects, or you can search. And we really recommend some of these welcome or getting started activities that show at the top. And if you teach older students and you filter this to an older grade level, you'll see these collections organized by subject, which is also really helpful. So those are your getting started activities, and they are actually purposefully designed to introduce one of Seesaw's creative tools at a time. So you can see here, if you were doing these activities, you would first be learning about the, like the camera, the photo tool, then maybe they're still taking a picture and then recording their voice, like in a writer's workshop activity, maybe adding a template here and drawing on top of it, or adding voice and drawing on top of a photo. So it's like going to introduce these creative tools in kind of a logical, progressive way. So that's really helpful. So we have one of these getting started collections for all grade levels. And then if you're in an older grade level, that will also be organized by subject. So that's really helpful. That's a great place to start with students. So we have had some webinars that are really specific to the topic of activities. And if that sounds really unfamiliar or new to you, please make sure to look at some of our upcoming webinars that are either about exploring the activity library or about what your students' first 5 activities might be like, and join us for one of those sessions. I also included the video here about how to share an activity with a student in case that's really new for you as well. Now, we also have some printable resources and signs that you might like as you're setting up your classroom and getting ready to Seesaw. All of these resources really promote a culture where students are used to sharing and reflecting. A lot of teachers are using this recording spot printable this time of year because they're setting up some recording stations. We have digital citizenship handouts, and we have this We Seesaw badge, which is really nice to display in your classroom. This is also a really popular activity this time of year, especially for our youngest learners. It's called Seesaw Go, and it's just a game to help you introduce students to Seesaw and to your classroom. I put just an image of what it looks like, but if you go to the website, you can see the link here. If you go to this website, you get all of these different resources, things you can print, and step-by-step instructions for how to play this game with your students. So if you are interested, check that out. It's great if you teach one of the younger grades. And here is that We Seesaw badge that I was describing a minute ago. You can print and display that. We would love to see what that looks like in your room and what your students are doing with Seesaw. So don't hesitate to use the hashtag #WeSeesaw on social media to connect with us so we can see what your kiddos are up to and what they're doing in Seesaw. This is another great time of year to remind you that Seesaw really values privacy. We're GDPR and COPPA and FERPA compliant. And if you have stakeholders in your school or community asking about those things, don't hesitate to visit web.seesaw.me/privacy. We have lots of handouts and things that explain all of those policies. Or don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're always happy to answer questions about privacy. We take that very seriously. We also have a really robust help center. It's help.seesaw.me, and there are really 3 ways you can get help. You can type a question here and make a help request. You can search by keywords and terms here, or you can interact with our Seesaw assistant here, and that's also really helpful. And you can also see that some of our main topics that people search for are kind of here with these buttons. So it's a pretty helpful resource for you, and that really should be your first stop as you're getting ready for back to school. If you're stuck on anything or need help, lots of different ways to get help there. So I've been talking about things tonight that are part of free Seesaw, but if you are using Seesaw school-wide and you are really interested in carrying these journals year over year to build a more comprehensive record, you can consider Seesaw for Schools. You can go here, web.seesaw.me/schools to learn more about this paid product. Some really cool features included, and you can kind of research that from the web. You obviously know that we have free PD because you're joining me tonight for this webinar, so don't forget to always stay on top of what other sessions we're offering in case those are suited to your needs or your interests. And then we do let some of those recordings live on our YouTube channel, so you can check out some of our old sessions there as well. I would love for you to connect with me on Twitter and also join one of our Seesaw teachers groups on Facebook. We have those for every grade level. And of course, we're also active on Twitter and Instagram. So find us in any one of those communities. I'm so thankful you joined me here tonight, and I would love to answer a few of your questions. I think what I'm going to do is stop our recording tonight, but then I'll jump into the question box and see what might be waiting for me. And I will stay online for a few extra minutes to try to help you with those things. If you need to hop off tonight, that's just fine. Be sure to answer the questions that pop up in the survey on your screen. Your feedback helps us get better, so we definitely want you to give us your honest responses about the webinar. So I'm here to answer questions for a few more minutes. Going to pause the recording now. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope to see you in another webinar again soon. Bye-bye.